Cool beans. All right, let's kick this thing off. People can tune in as they please, and this will live on YouTube forever. So there'll always be a way to find it. What's up? It's Shelby, Ultra Signup Senior Content Manager. We're back with our third and final episode of this Crew and A live series. Who knows? There could be another one in the future. To catch you up to speed, Ultra Signup teamed up with the best in the business, Chaos Crewing Co., Ultra Crew Hub, and now Great Western Adventures Pro Crew to bring you a free 3-part series packed with expert advice, real-world strategies, and behind-the-scenes secrets to mastering the art of crewing. Go back and watch the other 2 conversations. You're guaranteed to leave with some fresh insight. Who is this for? Any runner prepping for a crew eligible ultra, first-time crew members, veteran crews looking to level up, friends and family who want to help but have no idea what they're about to get into, aspiring pacers and support team members. So if you're just tuning in, feel free to send this YouTube link to your friends and family. The more the merrier. Please subscribe to this channel. The Ultra Sign Up team would greatly appreciate it. And today I'm joined with Ben Light of Great Western Adventures Pro Crew. Ben and I first crossed paths, I think it was my first 100-miler Javelina. I realized like the week of the race, I needed a real headlamp, and you helped get me a Kagala like at packet pickup. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we go way back.
Yeah, that was the beginning of my ultra experience. And I would say you're one of the first individuals I've come across in the space that's really working to professionalize crew services, which I think is just such a cool niche to build a business around within trail running. And it's also neat to note that between all of the organizations we've talked to on here, Chaos Crewing Company, Ultra Crew Hub, and now Great Western Adventures, they all bring their unique energy and resources to the crewing space. So I'm super excited to have you here. Tell me more about what Great Western Adventures Pro Crew is. Like, what are you doing and how did you get started?
Yeah, I guess we kind of like organically evolved into a crew for hire organization. So Great Western Adventures has a 3 ownership, I guess you can say, like 3 partners. There's Mike McKnight, me, Ben Light, and then our buddy Josh Knuckles. And in fact, Mike and Josh were planning to be on, but it's Josh's birthday, and Mike is doing a surprise party for Josh. So someone had to pull the weight. So I got dealt the card since I'm like 2.5 hours away from where they live. So that's where they are. And we gotta go way back. Obviously, a lot of people within the industry, especially the 200 industry, know Mike McKnight's name, the low carb runner. We've been friends ever since 2017 when we ran the Triple Crown the very first year together, and it's been kind of like brothers from another mother ever since. And so I've been crewing him on his different Triple Crowns and different 200s. He's helped crew me. We've battled each other at the FKT on the Arizona Showdown. And then I've been helping him the last 2 years on his FKT attempts at Arizona. And then he's going to be helping me this year, as long as I'm healthy, in October for my FKT attempt at the Arizona Trail. Ooh. So we have, and between the 2 of us, I've helped, I would say, easily 24 plus different runners. I've helped people make podium. I've helped people finish 200s. And so it's kind of just slowly evolved where me and Mike both are ultra running coaches as a profession. And we started to get reached out to by some of our clients to obviously crew them. We had to kind of like create this whole thing, in a way. We saw a demand, and we decided to fill that demand. And we've been very blessed this year, completely booked out for all the 200s. already starting to fill up for next year as well. So I think some people really see the benefit of having the support of very seasoned veteran 200 runners, 100-mile runners to help them succeed at a big endeavor that they're trying to accomplish. And when you look at the total cost of like people, what they invest in a 200 miler between the training, the travel, the accommodations, to everything, it can all teeter on the smallest little link that could break the whole thing. And so having a veteran there that knows all the little tricks of the trade to minimize the chances of an unsuccessful attempt just, goes a long way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm someone that's played with having people that have never ran more than a half marathon come pace me, and it's to having very experienced runners pacing, and it's amazing to be able to bring somebody who hasn't experienced crewing and pacing and ultra with you on that journey, but it also takes a huge load off when you're not stressing about if they know how to use a GPS watch to navigate, or like these little things. When I've used less experienced crew, I've, as the runner, have needed to be a lot more focused and in control of what I'm doing, which is sometimes great, but in other times it does prevent you from being able to go as deep as you could if you had that like super team to lean on. So
Yeah.
And so yeah, you're a coach and you've been doing this for a long time. I want to lean into the coaching side of crewing, because I think this is like a part we haven't really discussed yet. Like, even though you're not the coach of, like, sorry, rewinding. Even though the crew is not necessarily like the runner's coach, for example, like we're not all lucky enough to have our coach come out to these things with us. I think there's times where the crew needs to step in and act like a coach. And so I'd love to like lean on your coaching experience to kind of answer some of these questions. And one of the first topics we highlighted was how to respond when a runner falls behind pace or struggles to meet cutoffs. And even going back to knowing, like, what are you doing as the crew, as the coach, to know when the runner's falling behind pace, so ideally you can catch it and flip it before it gets too late in the game?
Well, obviously, it shouldn't sneak up on you. So where I'm going with this is preparation beforehand. So before the race even starts, hopefully, whether it's the coach or the actual runner himself, let's say the coach doesn't offer this service, the runner needs to prepare with some type of planning, basically diving into a runner's manual. If it's a 200, Candace and Jamil and many of the organizations do a wonderful job on preparing a runner's manual for you to kind of like dive into cutoff times. A lot of people have the website. So you got to do your due diligence ahead of time to prepare and to look at what the cutoffs are. Then obviously you're going in with hopefully a goal time, establishing some type of benchmark. And within that benchmark, hopefully you are factoring in what average pace it's going to take you to get there. And then that average pace is going to dictate what time you'd be coming into each of those aid stations at which mile. That would give you like a baseline of understanding how far you're slipping from your goal time and how close you're getting to your cutoff time. Now, if you're getting closer, I mean, so you're going to be able to see that pretty fast if someone starts to slow down. If you start recording their in and out time at each of the aid stations, and then hopefully you have a little bit of a calculator to do the math, you can figure out what their average pace is. And if it's slipping backwards, what is the rate of digression on how they're fatiguing and slipping behind. So you can kind of calculate, okay, we're falling back about this amount. We need to step it up. And so you can actually sometimes this is going to be, and please, like those that are watching and listening, every case is different, whether it comes to weather, whether it comes to the course, vertical gain and loss, whether it comes to someone slipping behind on their nutrition and hydration. There's so many factors that could be involved with why they are slipping behind on their splits, and starting to get closer to those cutoffs. But if they are, that information needs to be relayed in a positive way to the runner, and maybe even with questions on, are they eating, are they drinking, are they, because if they fall behind on their fuel, that's fuel for the tank. That's going to take the energy out of them. Find out if there's any other issues that are going on. Then the pacer, if there is a pacer involved with this, sometimes people are crewing a runner that doesn't have any pacers or not even allowed to have pacers. And so, and that aspect, it's kind of like a motivating factor. For one, I hope the pacer chose a crew that they really mesh well with personality and with positivity, because, and I think I heard this on one of the other podcasts of the other race crews, energy is a real thing. And so if you are putting out negative energy as a crew, the racer is, or the runner is very sensitive to any energy, and they're going to pick up on that right away. And they're going to start to stress out and get anxiety. And that's a trickle down effect within themselves as well. So relaying to them in a positive manner of like, hey, look, you need to be sitting at like 17 and a half minute miles. Um, look at your watch. Hopefully your watch has your average pace on there or your current pace. Do whatever you can do to keep that under 17 and a half. As long as you're under that 17 and a half minute mile, you're starting to bank time. Everything's going well. And so, and that's just an example. And some of the other examples, I think, and this might even go in with one of the questions that you might be asking tonight, is being more efficient at the aid stations. As a crew, be prepared. I'm like have everything set out. You can see the difference in some crews at different aid stations. Crews will set out, have a little, like, I always bring a rug, I always bring a seat, I always bring everything, lay it out so that they can see their food, so that they can have, if they have extra water bottles available, so that you don't have to fill up their water bottles when they get there. Have them prepared. There's all these little like tricks, but hopefully an experienced crew or an experienced runner has given detailed information to their crew to help them become more efficient at the aid stations, because that's where like 90% of like lost time is lost, is at aid stations. And so to help them become more efficient and in and out, and there's a lot of tricks like that. We could spend all night on just becoming more efficient, but I don't want to do that. I guess in to wrap that question up, is the final is just like, is encourage them, okay? Motivate them and help them find, like, problem solve with them, in helping them to be more efficient, to move a little faster, to set micro goals. Let's see, you need to make it to this aid station before this time. Let's see if we can take off a few minutes just by that motivating factor. Instead of thinking about the whole rest of the race, if they have 60 miles left, stop thinking about the 60 miles. Just think about from this aid station to the next aid station. Let's make a micro goal to make it to that aid station in time. And then the crew can gather information, what they observed, what they heard, and then reassess and make another micro goal when they get to the other aid station.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of using the lap button on my watch. I'm am coming more from like a runner lens here, but I'll hit lap when I get into the aid station and then hit it again as I leave. So I, as the runner, am aware of how long I just took, which is helpful. I'm also aware of what my pace was for that specific section. So if you're somebody that's getting like mile alerts on your watch, kill that. That's not helpful. There's much better ways to use the lap feature. And yeah, the positivity thing is like, so important because you really don't know how a runner's going to react. I'm somebody who's been guilty of kind of throwing off my team, I think, with how I respond to things. And during my long trail FKT attempt, I finally had service because you're deep in the woods in Vermont, and my coach called me and was like, "You need to be doing like a sub 20 pace for the final 100 miles in order to get this FKT," which was like still within reach, but I was just so pissed that I hadn't gotten that feedback sooner, that I freaked out, dropped my pacer, and ran like a 10-11 minute pace for 9 miles, and then surprised my crew because my Garmin InReach wasn't working and they didn't expect me there an hour early. And so be prepared. You never know how a runner is going to react in these situations.
On that note, I'm like, and anytime you say something that's going to give me a tip, even though it's not part of the question, I'm going to just throw it out there.
Do it.
So,
yeah.
like me and I have a rule. It's hurry up and wait. Okay. Everybody heard the term of like crewing. It's hurry up and wait. But seriously, like the minute the runner leaves the aid station, your number one job is to wrap up what you're doing right there, get to the other aid station, or at least nearby, depending on the rules of the organization that you have to wait for the runner to be so close before you can enter the aid station area. But the number one thing is to get close, to get there right away. You never know when you're going to have car troubles. You never know if you're going to have a flat tire or you're going to run into any incidences. And so getting to the area sooner than later will minimize those issues. If you sit there and wait around and talk to people and do other things and go other things and say, hey, we'll just keep watching the tracker, or we'll just, he's supposed to be in at this time, so we'll show up like 20 minutes early. What in case they get a wild burr? What in case they were slower, but then all of a sudden they got ahead of on their nutrition. Everything came back. Stuff started to click. They were feeling good, and they started busting tail, and they get there and they beat you. That's going to be a major issue. So I'm a big advocate of break it down, hurry up, get there, and wait. That is your number one job, is to support this runner. And so big tip on that one is hurry up and get there.
Yeah, and it leads to like our underfueled conversation, which was kind of my next question of like early signs that your runner may be underfueled. And I think that fuel is very powerful. During Cocodona, I had switched to goos, and it was very clear to my pacer and myself, honestly, that I started to just slow down after 20 minutes of taking the goo. And then I took a goo and I can run again. And so if you've been dealing with an underfueled runner for, the last 20 miles, and then all of a sudden, like, they get that nutrition in and they start moving, like, you're going to see a totally different person. So yeah, tell me what's your experience in catching runners that are underfueled, other than just like them coming back with a whole pack full of food.
Well, underfueled is definitely like, I'm kind of more of a, like, I talk reason usually. That's how my brain works, is reason. I'm a numbers guy. And if anybody's been around me, or I've crewed, or if they've ever been around me when I'm coaching, everything's numbers. Everything goes by numbers. And when I'm saying this is, this might go into a coaching and a training aspect, and then I'll flip it over into why it relates to answering your question. Is in my own personal training, I burn 650 calories in zone 2 per hour. Okay. I can't consume 650 calories per hour. My stomach's not going to digest that very comfortably. Okay. So relatively, most people should be getting in at least 50% of what they're burning. And if they're burning, so like 300 calories. So I kind of explain to, even when I'm pacing my runners, I'm kind of explaining this. Do you understand? If you're not getting the 300, even if you're getting the 300, you're going into a 300 calorie deficit. If this section is, let's say, 20 miles, if it's a 200, that's more realistic, not on a 100 miler, but 20 miles, and it's like, say, a 5-hour section. So, and you're taking in, basically you're burning right in there in closer to a 3,000 calorie, and then you're only taking in 1,500. You're already in a 1,500 calorie deficit. So if you're not taking anything, now you're in a 3,000 calorie deficit, and you can only imagine trying to like burn nothing. So you're just chugging along. So basically, they need to understand that they need to be taking in that 300 calories at least to be only in a 50% deficit. And then when they get into the aid station, taking in about 800 to almost 1,000 calories. Don't just grab the watermelon. Don't grab the few chips and a few jelly beans or peanut M&Ms and stuff like that and pop in your mouth and go out the door. You need to grab something substantial. And that, from a crewing standpoint, they need to start preparing something substantial. If the aid stations are only like, if the luxury item is a cheese quesadilla, then you need to, if you're a crew, I would bring a camping stove. I would boil something. I would create these, dehydrated meals. I would make eggs, and I mean, there's things that you can do while waiting. You can make something simple, or a sandwich, and hand it to your runner out the door so the runner can be eating it and walking out the aid station. They need about 500 to 600 calories. This game in ultra is an eating contest. You need to be seeing how much you can eat during these things. So if I'm pacing somebody's behind on calories and they need to eat, it's a trickle in effect. It's basically like, and I've done this and I can tell stories after stories, and I'm sure people would love to hear stories about me pacing, Mike McKnight and stuff like that. And he's gone into the well himself many times. And it's kind of like, it's basically, and everybody's experienced this. I've experienced this. Is you look at something, you're like, I cannot eat that. I don't even want to look at it anymore. Like, even opening up the package makes me want to barf. But like, what I'll do from a pacing standpoint, when I have a runner that's like sick of their food, is I kind of find out what my runner has, and when I go out and pace them, I stuff my bag full of other things, everything different than what they have. If they got goos or like honey stingers or whatever, I'm stuffing myself with Martin or with a variety of different brands, and different bars and stuff like that. And then just break off a piece and you hand it to them, just like, hey, take this and chew it up with some water. You just have to like almost like baby spoon feed them a little bit of calories every 5 to 10 minutes and start going and working it way in. 200s, you have the luxury of big, long cutoff times, where if you have to have a runner sit down and just drink bone broth or just drink like the juice from like a top ramen packet, that will upstart the stomach system. And they have to be walking. You can't be trying to upstart the stomach process, digestive system while running. All your blood is being allocated to all your extremities, to your legs, to your arms, to your respiratory system, and your stomach is shut down. So you kind of have to lower the heart rate. You got to lower the effort level so that your body, in its trauma state of going X amount of 100 miles, 200 miles, whatever it is, needs to be able to digest that food. So it has to slow down. And sometimes that means sitting at an aid station for a second to get that in, to start the digestion process with liquids, and then move into more like applesauces and liquid type things. I'm a big advocate. If anybody watches my, when I'm crewing other people like Ashley Paulson, or I'm crewing Mike, or I'm crewing any of my clients, is I bring a portable blender and I do smoothies. And one of the favorite things I like to do is take uh, uh, frozen fruit. I take a Martin 360, pour it in. I take like my Redmond Real Salt Relight to add more salt, because a lot of people are already low on sodium as it is, and they're not even going to taste it in there. If it's me or Mike, I'm pouring in some raw milk. If it's just a client, I'll just pour in water or some yogurt, just anything to thicken it up. Maybe a little bit of protein, maybe not. Sometimes the naked smoothie drinks to add to it, anything to make that liquefy, and it comes out to be like at least 500 calories, and they're just drinking it in the aid station, and it's smooth, it's cold, it goes down. And the minute that Martin 360 hits their stomach, I mean, Martin is a freaking fantastic product. it hits the stomach, and then it just starts the digestive process. It gives them energy. And a lot of my clients will just like all of a sudden, like within 5 or 10 minutes, be like, oh my gosh, I feel freaking amazing. But that's great. But now we need to start putting in the food. We don't want to like go out and start running. We need to go and start walking and putting in some solid foods, because that's only going to last for so long, and start putting in some solid foods. That was a kind of a long answer. I apologize, but
Oh, no, don't apologize. We're here to chat. I love the Morton and the smoothie idea. Like, that's brilliant. I need a Ben Light smoothie next time I'm doing an ultra.
especially in the heat.
Yeah, I've had a bad experience with the naked smoothie stuff. It just didn't hit right.
Oh,
And it just, whatever, it comes up easy, so it's fine.
it tastes the same.
I moved
Hey,
on.
choose those
Yeah.
foods that taste the same coming up as going down.
Exactly. Ultra Crew Hub's in our chat, and they're wondering, how do you fuel this crew?
How do I feel? Oh man,
Yeah.
you don't even want to know. So I I eat steak. I eat eggs. I like, oh my gosh, like the crew eats really good. Let me just say that way. When is that what they're talking about? Are they asking me? Is it my own, like me as a crew? What do I eat while my runner's running?
Yeah, that's what
Oh, okay,
it
yeah.
sounds
So,
like you come prepared.
oh yeah, I got a refrigerator. I got a stove. I mean, I got my cab over camper that I on my truck, and so that's kind of like my mobile kitchen. And so yeah, I eat really good. Most runners can't eat a steak, during during the. But that's the nice thing about having the kitchen is like I can make the mashed potatoes, I can make eggs, I can make a lot of different varieties. One of the things I do is sit down with my clients beforehand, and we get a variety of different options, and I make sure I'm fully stocked. Pasta, it's so easy. Like you can get a really good pasta sauce, a red sauce or a white sauce, depending, or even just oil. You can get a pesto sauce, depending. It's just all the preference of the runner, and sometimes the preference of when they come in craving the weirdest things. But one of my clients out of the UK, they wanted beans, baked beans. I had like baked beans. I had pasta and pesto. I had 3 different runners from the UK doing a looped course at Jackpot, and both got first and second. And I mean, I was making some odd things because coming from a different background, I guess, from the UK, but you find out what the runner likes, like in a variety of things, because doesn't mean that they're going to like it there. So hopefully, if they're hiring a crew, or if they have a crew, the crew could come prepared with like options outside of the aid station. That's the whole point of this. Like, make this as like as enjoyable as possible.
For everyone. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like there's definitely times where I've been guilty of like not packing the proper food for myself when crewing and pacing, and then you just end up eating junk, and like that's not the point. Like you should be, if you're somebody who I imagine, I know you are somebody who follows like a pretty regimented meal plan on the daily. Like I
Yeah.
imagine you're not skewing from that when you're out there crewing somebody. Like you figured out how to keep hitting your macros when you're in the
Oh yeah.
desert.
Yeah. I'm a big macros guy, so we'll just leave
Had
it
a
at
feeling. Had a feeling.
that.
Yeah. I mean, quick things like oatmeal are always great. And I know my husband's, he's always finishing off what I'm not eating as the runner. So at that Fane Ranch aid station, I handed him, 2/3 of a pancake and French toast. Cause
You want a real here's another trick. So I'll take instant mashed potatoes. So this is like I can have this made in less than 5 minutes. You just boil water. I'll make instant mashed potatoes, and I'll take the seasoning packet from a top ramen and
oh,
add it into the mashed potatoes. So I'm telling you, it's like, and then you add a lot of butter to it. You can add some seasoning. I'm lucky enough to have Redmond Real Salt as my as a sponsor, and I have all these different seasonings for meats and these different varieties of barbecue seasonings and smoked seasonings and all this stuff. And I've come up with some really cool options where people are just like so sick of all this food, and then all of a sudden, hey, try this. And I can even put in like a breakfast sausage and ground up beef and put it in there really nicely fine, so they're getting just a little bit of beef particles while getting the mashed potatoes, like a sour cream and chives, and put in some, even some sour cream mixed in there to make it a little bit more hearty and fatty, and then eat that. And it's just like, it's money. And like when you get something, a variety of flavor, when you're like that flavor of all the sugars that you're getting through all the different stuff, when you get some fats and some really good starch carbs, it's absolutely awesome. And it hits the system good. It takes about like, mashed potatoes takes like 5 to maybe 8 minutes to start to digest. And then all of a sudden you just come back from the dead.
Yeah. I've overdone it with mashed potatoes before, but I do agree that they are pretty amazing. And pro tip, you can put them in a giant Ziploc bag and take them with you. And if you're really lucky, your pacer might even bring a spoon and spoon feed them to you while you're walking.
Cut the end and just like
Exactly.
like
Pastry
cake
bag,
cake
squeeze them.
cake frosting,
Yeah. I do appreciate that you were specific on uh, breaking down the meat into finer pieces. I had a little bit of a just delirious moment in at the Sedona aid station at Cocodona this year, where I was handed a breakfast burrito, and I don't know, they were like big kind
chunks.
of burnt pieces of bacon or something black, and I was just like, I don't like it. There's weird pieces of black things in here, and my team was like, "You've lost your mind, Shelby. Just shut up and eat it." So
Well, your tongue becomes very sensitive to everything. So I'll just say that.
yeah. Okay, so recognizing the difference between an injury and a tough low point. Another thing that I've messed up before.
Well, obviously, I've been in this long enough to know that there's a lot of times, I mean, you're battling demons. As a runner, we're all battling the demon of making your like motivating yourself to keep going. And you got the demon of the body saying, especially if it's a newer runner, it's like, hey, is this normal? This is what I'm feeling. I don't want any long-term injury. I don't want any long-term thing. And it's like these all these different types of elements that they might have not have experienced. And then we're, as the crew or the coach or the pacer, are it's like, is it just a flare up, as in a tight muscle causing a discomfort on the mechanics? Or is this actually like a strain, a tear, what degree of tear and stuff like that? There's a lot of different things that can, you know, slow you down, but not prevent you from finishing. There's a lot of things that will feel like something serious, but once they get some fuel and electrolytes, oh my gosh, I don't want to get me started. When you're low or too much electrolytes, it's both the, the spectrum, a lot of things happen and a lot of discomfort happens, whether it's swelling and that has discomfort, to muscle tightness that's going to cause like mechanic issues and stuff like that. And a lot of times they feel like an injury when they're just, a tightness or a deficiency in whether it's calories, electrolytes, hydration, is dehydration and stuff like that. So a lot of times this is where like having crewing experience comes in, or an athlete with experience that has had similar things happen to them, or a coach that has had a lot of different clients go through a lot of different things and we've learned how to remedy them, versus just somebody that's off the street or their family member that does no clue. They're just watching their loved one suffer as it is. And if that loved one wants to quit, they're just like, yeah, this looks awful. Like, I can't believe you're doing this to yourself anyways, let alone, like me trying to motivate you to like get going and get it back out there. So, a lot of times it comes down to, you have to like turn it back over to the runner and ask him some questions, like serious questions, like when did it start? Is it getting worse? Had you had these issues before, like in training? Is this new? And then you kind of have to like break it down to them and hopefully feed them some motivational talking of like, what do you want, and how bad do you want this? Like, do you feel that this is something that is going to be life threatening, or something that's going to put you in harm's way? Like, the last thing you want is, like, let me give you an example of myself. I'm not to talk about any clients. Let me talk about. So I was in the spine race in the UK, 2000. I think this was 16, and I got to learn a whole bunch of experiences there. I didn't know anything about waterproof socks or anything like that. And it was a really wet environment. It's in the wintertime. You're going through snow, ice, rain, rivers up to your waist for, I don't know. It's the most insane race I've ever been in. And let me just say this. I got to about almost to mile 200. I made the simple mistake that I went to sleep with my calf sleeves on. I got just too lazy to take them off, and I didn't elevate my feet. So those calf sleeves turned into tourniquets. And everybody knows sometimes when you stop at an aid station, your feet tend to swell. And you put them back in the shoe, you go about 2 or 3 miles, the shoes become loose because you started to flush the fluid. Well, those calf sleeves I woke up to Mickey Mouse feet. Like, they were so dang huge that I had to untie my shoes completely, put my foot in, only tie the bottom and only tie the top. So I did this at one aid station, and I was able to go out, and every 2 or 3 miles, I was able to tie it a little tighter, and then about 5 to 8. It was a good like 2 hours of walking. I was able to actually tie my shoes regularly, and the next aid station, it just, because they blew up that much, they blew up even more the other time. I could barely walk on my feet. It felt like shards of glass under my skin. The doctor at the aid station was suggesting, from his professional opinion, that I should quit. I didn't want to quit. I still had a little bit of time before cutoff. I mean, things were unraveling. I had an IT band issue, so I was hobbling along. Anybody with IT band issues knows that. I'm about to go out on a section that's about 40 miles, and this is a totally different race where there's only five checkpoints over 268 miles. So there's not an aid station like Cocodona every like 5 to 9 miles. It's basically every 50 miles is a checkpoint for an aid station. I'm about to go over. I'm going to be crossing Hadrian's Wall. It's in a snowstorm's coming in, and I can barely walk. At that point, I went out a mile in excruciating pain, and I just decided there's no sense in putting, mountain rescue is what they call search and rescue over there, mountain rescue at risk, putting myself at risk, volunteers at risk, all these different people at risk, just for my own ego at that time. I made the call that I needed to pull out. Came back the next year to finish the race.
I like that you went out a mile though. Like that.
Well, and that's something, let me bring that back. That's something I really suggest to most of my clients. Like, let's just go out and see what happens. Let's at least go out. We can always turn around and come back. As long as you're not fighting cutoffs and stuff like that, you can always go out. You can come back. You can tell the other people in the crew, if you're the pacer, or if the pacers tell the pacer, take them out there and really give it an honest try. And if needs be, if they have cell service, we can pick you up at a crossroad, bring back the aid station. They can drop there, however it works out. Never try to, there's always the circumstances, but try to at least not drop at the aid station. Try to go back out, because stuff turns around. If you've been in the industry long enough, I would say 9 times out of 10, things can turn around. Ailments can turn around. Like, even like tight quads or tight tibias or anything can subside. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I've had many ailments that I've had to push through, never been life threatening, and I've had times where I've had to actually pull the plug. and stuff like that. If you're pulling the plug for mechanical reasons, you should not feel guilty at all. At all. Okay. If you're pulling the, if, I mean, you will know, like every runner will know tomorrow if it was mechanical or emotional.
Yeah.
So you'll know the next day. But if you get up and you're like hobbling along and it's like you're going to get an MRI or you're going to the doctor, you're like, it's, it's probably a good thing that you didn't, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I fail the answer to this question because I broke my foot at mile 6 of Black Canyon
Oh, that's no excuse.
and finished the race. And it's like, I think, well, there's a couple of takeaways from that. One is once you start going into like the 200-mile distance, especially even in
Yeah.
the 100-mile distance, like depending on how much time you're on your feet and the sleep deprivation, there's something that happens with the sleep deprivation and how much your feet hurt. And I feel like the first time that I experienced that, it was crippling. And then the next time I went to do a multi-day adventure, I understood like, okay, you're going to be tired. Your feet are going to hurt more because you're tired, and they're fine. And so unfortunately/fortunately, through doing these long things, I've learned how to kind of mentally compartmentalize foot pain. And so that was what I did during Black Canyon 100K after stepping on a rock and feeling like, oof, that didn't feel right. I had also experienced like 6 months prior, like a little metatarsalgia in training. So my mind like wanted to believe that it was just that flaring up again. And it didn't feel like it was getting worse necessarily. And so my crew, I kind of did like too good of a job masking the pain when I got to, it happened before Bumblebee aid station. So like very early on in the race, I was just, like, oh, my foot hurts. I'm not going as fast as I want to be, but I'm still moving. And so it's a tough call. And I
Yeah.
don't like, there's probably no perfect answer to this question other than, really evaluating the safety, especially when you're in the mountains and there's rain and snow and elements that could truly knock you out. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's for my crew, you're caught in a catch-22 as a crew when the runner is looking for and I'm not saying looking for an out. I'm saying what I'm trying to say is trying to analyze, is this an injury or is this like, should I keep going and stuff like that. I guess the right answer as the crew is you support the runner no matter what their decision is. You do everything you can to make sure that are you lay out everything on the table for the runner to make the most educated decision, but ultimately that's the runner's decision. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a conversation I have with each of my, so like I had a conversation today with one of my clients that I'll be crewing at Tahoe. And I told him the customer is always right. I said, this is something I've learned over the past couple of years of crew for hire, is that it's different when I'm crewing my best friend Mike McKnight, and I'm like, I know him so well, and I know his goal, and I know how important certain things are, and I know how to push him, and ultimately he's going to make the right decision, and it's my job to make sure I'm giving him the support and push that he needs to be successful, versus a client that is paying me a fee to be there. Totally different scenario. And then also, if it's a loved one that you're supporting, and we're talking about another crew, like people watching that are crewing a friend or a family member or something like that, our job on that aspect is just to love them and support them the best that we possibly can in the situation. We should obviously help talk reason, make sure that it's not an emotional decision, but it is actually a logical decision. If they're not up against cutoff times, don't just let them walk away. Like, say, hey, let's sit here together. Let's take a break. Let's take a nap. Let's put your feet up. Let's get some food in you. And before you make such a drastic decision, which doesn't need to be urgently made. Let's just take some time. It's better to take some time and stuff like that. Especially when there's food involved and some sleep involved. That can make a person an entirely different person and can change the entire trajectory of their race. And if it is something like a 200, they normally, normal cases, not every case, they have a lot more time on their hands. And finishing something like that is still, they may not hit their expectation that they had for themselves, but finishing should be everyone's A goal. And so, you know, you're helping them at least meet their A goal, especially with how much money they've invested in this, regardless of hiring a crew or not. I honestly say a 200 is almost about a $5,000 investment. Easy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to itemize it because I don't really want to know, but yeah.
Between the entry fee, if you
All
did
the
hire a coach,
nutrition, like
the nutrition leading up to it. I mean, I think $5,000
it's
easy, and then
easy.
the travel, the everything involved, the gas, the fuel, and then all those pacers that have given their time. I mean, that's a week of donating their time and effort, and at least just sit there for like 2 hours before you make a decision. At least.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I think like in conclusion with this one, like the low versus the injury, the low might feel maybe more emotional
yep,
unless you're dealing with both at the same time, which is probably very challenging. But like yeah, the low I think might be like more of an emotional like I want to quit, this is hard, whereas the injuries like I don't know, I feel like
yeah.
runner might have a different attitude when they come in with like a real injury. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was you a long time ago. And we mentioned this on the Ultra Crew Hub episode, like how to give back to your pacers and crew, and yeah, we talked about it last week, and I kind of like left thinking about it because financially it's not always feasible to be able to pay for your flights and like all of the time for your pacers and crew. And so something that I try to do is like give back in return. So, if somebody paces me, if I can go back and pace them, or even like another, like just karma points, like give it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? I mean, for your business, obviously, like you're putting together a pricing structure and getting paid, and there's none of that question. But when you're
Yeah.
talking about like friends and family coming to support, like what are we supposed to do?
Well, I mean, everybody's financial situation is different. Let's just say it that way. If you can financially help those that are coming to help you, I do not bat an eye. I mean, I'm not saying pay their bills or pay their wage that they're missing at work, but at least pay their way. Like pick up the meals, pick up the hotel room, pick up whatever, like their flight if they're coming out, if you financially can. If you financially can't, and I would be super transparent with your friend or family member that is offering to come. They're excited for you. They want to see you succeed and they want to experience and be a part of it. You could easily say, I would love for you to be there. I would like, it would mean so much to me for you to be there. I just want to be upfront and transparent. I can't afford to subsidize you being there. So as long as you're okay coming and understanding that here is what is going to take place. I mean, you got to take care of your meals. I mean, we'll go to the grocery store and buy snacks and stuff like that. We'll do as much as we can to minimize the cost. But, being upfront and transparent. So there's that. Then internally, feel out a way to say thank you, to say, like sending them a gift or a card afterwards, especially if you're successful, making sure that you post and give them credit and gratitude for helping you along. There's a lot that a crew can do to help the success of a runner. And there's a lot of runners that I believe owe part of their success of finishing the event to their crew. When me and Mike did the Triple Crown of 200s in 2017, both our wives crewed us all 3 races. Let me tell you this: Mike McKnight's wife crewed him out of a Camry with their 9-year-old baby, Killian. And he didn't have any pacers. He only had his wife. And so I had already done a few 200s at this time. I've been around the 200 since the start of 2014. So in 2017, I've already completed 3 200s. And so I looked to my wife, Brittany, and said, Brittany, can you make sure you kind of take Sarah under your wing and make sure she's okay? She has this baby. I mean, Killian sleeping on the floorboard of the passenger's part of the car, like up in Bigfoot, like in the middle of nowhere. Make sure she doesn't get lost. There's no cell service and stuff like that. Just look at, I mean, and so afterwards we had these special pendants made up of all the 3, the Tahoe bear, the Moab, what was Moab, like a fox or something, or where's it, the bird? It was the bird that year. And then Bigfoot, and then we had these trinkets made out of real silver and custom made, and gave them to our wives as a thank you for supporting us. And it's a, I'll be honest, like sometimes crewing is harder than racing. I've ran the 200s and I've crewed the 200s. One year when Jovisa from Serbia basically reached out to me and Mike, he was running Bigfoot. He wanted me and Mike to crew him at Bigfoot and to help him try to take Mike's course record. We crewed him, and we were just two. And what we would do is every aid station flip flop, flip flop, flip flop. So one would drive to the next aid station, one would pace, one would drive to the next station, one would pace, and we were flip flopping. And we go all the way through. We each did about 70 miles of pacing and got him in the first place finish. And Mike comes out of that, and here's Mike, ran Bigfoot. He has the CR for Bigfoot. He's like, that was harder than running the race. So runners understand that crewing, those crew are not just sitting there sleeping and vegging on stuff and taking it in. It's a go, 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 go scenario, especially Cocodona. Cocodona is a fast action type with the aid stations super close together. And then even at the 200s, there's a long drives in between. And then you don't have service, so you don't really know when your runner is going to be coming in unless you have Starlink now, which is a new thing. Before, we didn't have those things. And so you would kind of like walk up to the CV ham radio guys and like, hey, if you can radio the like back of base and see if they can see the tracker to see where so-and-so is, if you're lucky, kind of a thing. And so like, you're not getting a lot of sleep. And so where I'm just trying to say is runners show some appreciation to this crew, because that buckle is partly theirs.
It really is. It really is. And yeah, Starlink's been a game changer. And
Yeah.
I think for like, I still haven't totally figured it out, but for a race like Cocodona, you could, like, there's definitely a way to organize, and I'm sure somebody's done it, where you have like an A crew and a B crew, and you can kind of, rotate things so people are getting longer breaks. It's just hard with all of the stuff and like swapping shoes and nutrition buckets. Like, I thought I was pretty organized this year, but even still, it's like there's like all my comforts are in the van, so it's kind of nice having the van there, but then my husband never really gets to like have a break, and so it's tricky. I think that's something that could be, try to think about that though. If you're a crew working with a runner, like, how can we tag team this efficiently so we're not all just burning the candle on both ends?
Just make sure that if you have 2 vehicles, it'd be easier to do. Make sure you have the main vehicle as the vehicle with all the crewing, let's say the runner's stuff, and then just have another vehicle. So maybe there's an A team and B team. The A team has, and then the B team is sleeping, and then the B team comes over, gets in the vehicle, crews for a couple spots while the A team is getting some sleep. That's not a bad scenario as well. I've never actually done it that way. I've done it where I've driven to 2, like, let's say not a hired position, but like crewing Mike, and then Sarah's there, and I just got done pacing and I'm going to pace again, I'll drive ahead to where I'm going to be pacing, lay down and sleep, and then and Sarah would be crewing, and then once he gets there, then I would take off with Mike and go that way. But
Mm-hmm.
and that's, there's a many of the 200s where I was running through the night with Mike and then crewing them during the day, and you kind of have to do that.
Yeah. Wild. Oh, it's fun. It's a fun game to play.
Oh, why do you think? I mean, like, I'm like, to make a job out of something I absolutely love. I mean, I'm going to these things anyways. I might as well get paid for it.
Right? It's brilliant. So, do you have any last minute thoughts on ways to step in with a coach mentality, even if you're not their official coach?
Well, my biggest thing is come prepared. Okay. The biggest thing is I've seen so many people's races go completely south, whether like, let me say this, even if it's Cocodona and it says, and you just think it's going to be as hot as hell in like in Arizona, look what happened this year. Okay. Like, I gave Mike my waterproof pants because I had two pairs because I know that somebody's going to forget theirs. I gave somebody else a puffy. I gave somebody else a headlamp. I usually bring like 3 or 4 waist belts, a couple of headlamps. I bring Croc gaiters. I bring all this winter stuff, even if it's a summer race. So prepare for the worst case scenario in everything. Okay. And that's from a running standpoint. Then also be prepared with your split charts. Have a plan, have a goal. Okay. Make sure that you have an A plan, a B plan, and a C plan. Having a plan, you can't, I mean, A plan is probably not going to happen. This is ultra. It's not going to happen. But if you don't have a plan in place, how do you pull an audible? What do you pull an audible? There's no audible to be pulled. You're just making it up as you go. Okay.
Yeah.
So be prepared. Have a plan in place. Have uh, uh, emergency contacts too. Have a way to get a hold of things just in case things go south. Okay. Whether it's a spot in reach, I mean, they weigh nothing. You know, it's something. I mean, if you're in this world and you're doing backcountry running at all, you need to have a spot in reach. You know, especially the minis. You know, they're so handy, and that you can have real world communication and stuff like that. Um, from there, I was gonna say this. This popped into my head. This is my number one thing when I'm pacing someone, and I tell people to become as this is going to the runner or to a pacer. When you're coming into an aid station, to be as efficiently as possible, when I'm about 2 miles out or about a mile and a half out from the aid station, as the pacer or as a runner, I'm going through a checklist. I'm putting myself in the aid station. What do I need to do at this aid station? You know, what are the only things that I need to do? With whether it's my water bottles, my hydration, calories that I need to eat, if I need to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. When I'm coming into an aid station, when I know I'm like a half a mile out, especially at a 200, there's times that I will go down to a walk. One, sometimes I'll go use the restroom, so I don't have to worry about that. And it's a lot faster and stuff like that, no waiting and stuff like that. Hopefully, if this is out in the forest and stuff and not at Cocodona in the middle of the city. But, use the restroom. I drink all my fluids before I get in. I start to down all my fluids so that I know that I'm hydrated, because there's a lot of times you forget to do stuff because you got so much going on. But then I'm making this checklist so I know exactly if I do I have a drop bag this is like hand gestures. Stop using hand gestures. Okay, it popped up on my side. So like I'll make a checklist if I have a drop bag, my nutrition, taking my garbage out. If I'm calorie deficient, like grabbing some big things of food and stuff. So I'll come in and I'll execute the checklist, grab food, and walk out. And so I have banked so much time on some of my pacing responsibilities for some of my runners that are not meeting their goals, that are slipping behind. When I've come in as a pacer, I've set the pace. If a pacer is, that's the name of it. It's pacing. It's not being a friend and accompanying and having a conversation. You're there to help encourage them to set a pace to be successful, and then help them get their water bottles, work with them, get them out the door. Should be fresh. You should be able to run and catch up to them, unless they're a front of the pack type person. So, like, that checklist in and out of aid stations, because aid stations, there's so many times I come in aid stations and people are just sitting there. They're just sitting there, like drinking coffee. Like if you walked into a diner in the middle of a small little town, and they're just sitting there, just sipping away and enjoy. And if that's your game of ultra, more power to you. But if you've got a time, or if you've got some goals in mind and stuff like that, it's going to help increase that efficiency to get in and out of an aid station fast with a
Yeah.
checklist.
Yeah, I mean, if there's service, I've even had my pacers, like, I start rattling off my
Oh
needs
yeah.
and have them text the crew. Um,
Tahoe, Cocodona. It's like, hey, what do you want to eat? We're about an hour out. Let's see. Do they want Five Guys? Do they want to go to Chick-fil-A? Do they want a Chipotle? Like, what do you want?
yeah.
We'll have it there. Do you want a icy? A
Yes.
Slurpee. So, like, that's the nice thing about service versus Bigfoot, where you're in the dead zone and there's nothing around.
Yeah. And, kudos to the runners that do this without crews
Oh
and
yeah.
pacers. It can be done. It's something that I look forward to exploring more of in my future. Like, it's amazing being pampered, but to anybody listening to this that's like, oh man, I don't know if I can rally a team like that together. It's okay. Like,
Yeah.
you can
Andrew Glaze
survive
is,
these.
is an excellent resource on that. Look at this. He does all these races, and he usually does them crewless.
Right.
Um, uh, there's a handful of them that's what they do, and they're very successful, and they actually enjoy it. Mika will do some of her 200s, like, and she does exceptionally well. She is a beast, and I've watched her in an aid station, just like boom, 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 super efficient, gets her stuff done, and out she goes.
Yeah.
So you can still be a front runner and be crewless. It's just being very present. It makes you be
Yes.
present
Yeah.
because you're your own support.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's honestly, the deeper you get into it, probably a good thing for everyone to practice at least once is something I've been thinking of after I've watched countless videos of people putting socks on me at Cocodona a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, oh man, Shelby, you're so spoiled. But that's what crews are for too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wash my feet.
And kiss them too. Just kidding. Just knocked my light
Whoops.
over. Whoopsie. I guess that's our sign to end this call. Thank you everyone who's tuned in. It was awesome seeing, people pop some questions in the chat. Ben, where can people find you?
Adventure Your Potential is my Instagram handle. You can, we're just really, like, I've been doing this solo. This is the first year that we're bringing it into Great Western Adventures. Me and Mike started, and Josh Knuckles started a company. We're going to have some races being popped up by next year, hopefully. We didn't get Forest Service approval this year with some of the things going on in Utah, I guess, with the Forest Service. But we got some races, and then we also are going to have our pro crewing services, and then also some training retreats that we're going to be launching, geared towards different events, whether it's high altitude versus the 200s. We are putting together some pretty exciting things for Great Western Adventures. And and so you can, easiest right now is reaching out to me on Instagram at Adventure Your Potential, and you can also reach out to Mike McKnight at the Low Carb Runner, or I think he's under Mike McKnight right now.
Yeah, I think he killed the Low Carb.
It's still there. The
Identity crisis. Just kidding.
No, he's I think it needs to be something with raw milk now. So
Yeah, that'd be cool. I love it. Awesome. Yeah, sign me up for one of those retreats. That sounds awesome.
yeah, we're
Super
doing some
cool.
East Coast ones too as well.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Cool.